Good morning from Mission Control Houston in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, where we are bringing you live coverage of the rendezvous and docking of the unpiloted Progress 86 cargo spacecraft. You are currently seeing views of Progress's crosshair camera as it closes in on today's docking window to the International Space Station following a 2-day 34-orbit journey. Docking is currently scheduled for about 45 minutes from now at 5:14 a.m. Central, 6:14 a.m. Eastern to the Poisk module. The spacecraft is currently about 6 kilometers away from the space station and closing in at a rate of 8.9 meters per second. The Orbit 1 flight control team is currently on console for this morning's operations and are being led by Flight Director Rick LeBrode as he is joined on console by Flight Director Heidi Brewer. The team here in Houston is working in tandem with the Russian mission control team in Koryov, just outside of Moscow, for today's Progress docking operations. The teams will be conducting a go, no-go poll for docking in just about 3 minutes. Progress 86 is carrying 2.7 tons of food, fuel, and supplies to the Expedition70 crew aboard the International Space Station and will remain docked to the orbiting laboratory for about 6 months. To make way for the Progress 86 vehicle, the Progress 84 spacecraft that docked to the space station's Poisk module earlier this year departed the station on Wednesday, November 29th, burning up harmlessly in the Earth's atmosphere over the South Pacific Ocean. The 7-member multinational crew comprising Expedition 70 includes NASA astronauts Jasmine Mogbelli and Laurel O'Hara, European Space Agency astronaut Andreas Mogensen, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Satoshi Furukawa, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Konstantin Borisov, Oleg Kononenko, and Nikolai Chub. Kononenko and Chub are on deck to monitor today's docking of Progress from inside the space station's
about the recording mode. Please go ahead on Space Ground 1. Yes, Nikolai, you can turn on the recording. Copy that, turning on recording. Copy, thank you.
Kononenko and Chub are on deck to monitor today's docking of Progress from inside the space station's STEDSA service module. They will be monitoring the operations from the Toru, or the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit, which is basically a joystick, and in the unlikely event of a failure with the automated radar-based Kerr system, they can override it and manually fly Progress in for docking. The vehicle continues to close in on the distance to space station and is about 4.9 kilometers away. The Progress 86 cargo spacecraft was launched atop a Soyuz 2.1A booster rocket from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on Friday, December 1st at 3:25 a.m. Central, 4:25 a.m. Eastern, which is 2:25 p.m. in Baikonur, for an 8-minute, 45-second flight to orbit. All 3 stages operated as expected, and Progress is now wrapping up its 2-day 34-orbit chase to the orbiting laboratory, where it is scheduled to dock to the Poisk module in just about 41 minutes at 5:14 a.m. Central, 6:14 a.m. Eastern. Everything continues to proceed as expected, and the spacecraft is now about 4 kilometers from the station. The teams are currently conducting a go, no-go poll for docking. The team here in Houston just pulled go for docking. The International Space Station Flight Control Team here in Houston is currently working in tandem with the Russian Mission Control Team in Koryov for today's operations. Between now and the time of docking, there will be a series of impulse burns from the engine on the Progress vehicle. These are basically very short bursts to further fine-tune the spacecraft's path to the station. The next impulse burn is scheduled for about 3 minutes from now, and there were previously 3 impulse burns before today's broadcast began. Following these impulse burns, Progress will get within range of space station and conduct a fly around. The fly around will be at a degree of 127 degrees around the space station, and following the fly around, the spacecraft will self-align with the docking port on the hoist module. Once aligned, the vehicle will briefly go into station keeping to allow flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow to analyze the alignment between the forward docking probe on Progress and the docking port on the space station's hoist module. Once the proper alignment is confirmed, they will reinitiate the docking sequence. Progress uses an automated radar-based system called CORS to dock to the station. The active portion of CORS is on Progress, and the passive equipment is on the station. It's basically the active portion on Progress sends a radio beacon signal to the passive portion on station that updates information on range and rate of closure. Kononenko and Chub of Roscosmos are in the Zvezda service module at the Toru, which is a telerobotically operated rendezvous unit, which is basically a joystick, and in the unlikely event of a failure with the core system, they can override it and manually fly Progress in for docking with the camera view from Progress. Following initial contact and capture, currently scheduled for 5:14 a.m. Central, 6:14 a.m. Eastern, there will be a period of just a couple of minutes to allow the relative motion between Progress and the International Space Station to dampen out on the docking interface between the two. Once that occurs, the forward docking probe on Progress will begin to retract, hooks will close, and then we will have a hard mate between Progress and station. There will then be a period of standard leak checks to ensure that we have an airtight seal between Progress and station before the crew opens hatches about 3 hours later to begin unloading cargo from the vehicle. The spacecraft will remain docked to the orbiting laboratory for approximately 6 months, and then it'll undock for a destructive but safe reentry into the Earth's atmosphere to dispose of trash loaded by the crew. Progress continues to close in on station and is about 2 kilometers away, closing in at a rate of 4.3 meters per second. We just got confirmation that the Impulse 4 burn performed as expected, and this was a burn to further fine-tune the spacecraft's path to station.
Crew, we've just performed the final maneuver, and you are go to activate Toru. Copy that. We will be activating Toru.
And you just heard some conversation between flight controllers on the ground and the cosmonauts on aboard station.
Copy. Excellent. After that, please proceed with page 21, step 4.2. Copy that. In work.
They are currently activating and testing the Toru system.
Just reminding you that we are broadcasting. Copy. and please report what you're doing. All right, so I press the transmit button.
You are currently seeing live views of the Progress 86 spacecraft from the space station cameras as it continues to close in on station, where it'll be docking in just about 34 minutes from now to the Poisk module.
Till hard stop. The row test, I see all 4 LEDs on, and I've tested the rotational control button, no problems, and I'm testing the translation control button, turning it left and run, handle and turn it left and right, to myself, against myself, and there are no problems with it. And I'm also testing, doing the next test. The test has been performed and no problems identified. Excellent. Please proceed with step 4.3. Copy. Step 4.3. So I'm turning on the BPS is initial, then operation, turning it on, and turning on the peresvetka, which is EGC mode. Moscow station. So please adjust it to the most comfortable view to yourself, and then you can leave it as is. I am leaving it as is, and I'm turning it off. Thank you. Copy that, and I've recorded the information. I'm going to page 22. The range is 961, and the rate is 2.71. Copy that. Thank you. Excellent. So let us wait for the beginning of fly around at around 10:49. Copy that. 10:49.
Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub of Roscosmos, currently aboard the International Space Station, just conducted a successful test of the Toru system, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit from which they are monitoring today's docking operations. The Toru is basically a joystick, and in the unlikely event of a failure with the automated radar-based core system, they can override it and manually fly Progress in for docking using the camera view from Progress. The Impulse 5 burn for Progress was just successfully completed, and this is another short burst to further fine-tune the spacecraft's path to station. There are 6 total impulse burns, so we have 1 remaining. Progress is now less than 1,000 meters away from the station and closing in at a rate of 2.5 meters per second. It's about 4 minutes away from conducting its 127-degree fly around, which will help the spacecraft self-align with the docking port on the Poisk module. And we have confirmation that the 6th and final impulse burn was just completed. to further fine-tune Progress's path to the space station for today's docking, which is scheduled to occur in just under 30 minutes from now. In just under 3 minutes, the fly around of Progress is scheduled. During this fly around, the Progress spacecraft will self-align with the docking port on the Poisk module of the International Space Station and conduct a 127-degree fly around. Once aligned, the Progress vehicle will briefly go into station keeping. This will allow flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow to analyze the alignment between the forward docking probe on Progress and the docking port on the space station's Poisk module. Progress is closing in on space station for today's docking and is just under 450 meters away, closing in at a rate of 1.5 meters per second. The fly around is scheduled for about a minute and a half from now, and docking continues to be on time for 28 minutes from now.
Moscow Station, do you see the fly around? Yes, copy that. We are seeing the beginning of fly around. Everything is great.
The Progress vehicle has begun its fly around of station. Again, this is a 127-degree fly around that will allow the spacecraft to self-align with the docking port on the Poisk module for today's docking operations. Once aligned, the Progress vehicle will briefly go into station keeping. This will allow the flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control in Koryov just outside of Moscow to analyze the alignment between the forward docking probe on the Progress 86 vehicle and the docking port on the space station's Poisk module. Once the proper alignment is confirmed, they'll reinitiate the docking sequence. You're currently seeing live views of the Progress spacecraft from the International Space Station's cameras as the International Space Station is currently flying over Algeria. The Progress 86 spacecraft is now less than 250 meters away from the space station and about 24 minutes away from a scheduled docking of 5:14 a.m. Central, 6:14 a.m. Eastern, as it continues to conduct its 127-degree fly around to self-align with the docking port on the POISC module. We are currently going through a brief but expected loss of signal, and you are currently seeing live views from the balcony at the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov, Russia, just outside of Moscow, where flight controllers are currently working in tandem with the team here in Houston for today's Progress 86 docking operations. You are seeing live views from the crosshair camera on the Progress vehicle as it closes in on the International Space Station for today's docking. It is about 200 meters away from the space station as it continues to conduct its fly around to self-align with the docking port on the POISC module.
Moscow, I not receiving the picture. Well, actually, if necessary, please press operation again, работа, and work on the AGC mode. I turned off the AGC mode. It's all dark, but it's a little better. All right, so leave it as most comfortable to you. Will do. The important thing is to turn the работа, the operation, back on.
The Progress 86 vehicle.
All right, I'll leave it as is. Because I can see on the Mac, I see the really good image. Yeah, we received the picture, and the quality looks satisfactory to us. On the symbol, I see the AGC mode, and there is the picture on Mac is really good.
The Progress 86 vehicle is more than halfway through its scheduled fly-around to self-align with the docking port on the Poisk module, and you just heard some conversation between cosmonauts Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub aboard the space station, who are monitoring today's docking from the Toru, which is a tele-robotically operated rendezvous unit, basically a joystick system that they can use in the unlikely event of a failure with the automated radar-based core system on Progress to manually fly the spacecraft in for docking.
Наблюдаем облет причала, ждем завкона.
Yes, we are seeing the Prichal fly around. So the solar arrays, and now you can see it going right inside. Yes, we can see the picture. We can see that it is kind of off a little bit, off the center, and I don't see solar arrays anymore.
Экипаж, получено разрешение.
You are go to switch to Toru. Copy, send in operation. Send in.
Да, подтверждаем. Включаем.
Breakout. Go. We confirm. Activate manual control. Switch into manual control.
And we just heard some conversation between flight controllers on the ground and the cosmonauts aboard the International Space Station, Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub, who are in the Zvezda service module monitoring today's docking. We heard confirmation that they will be taking over docking using the Toru system, which is a tele-robotically operated rendezvous unit in place of the radar-based core system on Progress.
Back to the docking port if necessary, back to fly around. We say that you did a little bit more. Okay, dampen angular rate.
Да, принял. Набираем некую скорость 0203 на сближение.
Again, 0.2, 0.3 for closing. Go back to the angle of the docking port. I have 0.3.
Вас понял, отлично.
Copy, excellent. Range 170 meters.
The Progress vehicle is now just about 170 meters away from the space station.
Course data is valid for range rate and range. Copy.
Да, принял.
Reminder.
Напоминаю, что у нас в приоритете визуальная оценка все-таки.
Our visual assessment is our priority. Range 150, range rate 0.22 and closing. Copy, we observe it. Maneuver is done. 0.4 is the range rate.
Вас понял.
Copy. 150 kilometers range.
Продолжаем до дальности 30 метров. Там
Proceed to 30 meters, then we'll be mowed into the current position and we'll be standing by for your report. Copy. Okay, it's 120 and
Вас понял.
0.5 and closing. Copy.
Прошли 80 метров, 0,4 на сближение.
180 meters, 0.4 in closing.
Вас понял.
Copy.
Экипаж, напоминаю.
Crew, a reminder.
Скорость по правой стороне под курсом.
Okay, you need to take range rate and rate on the right side relative to course. Copy.
Принял.
Range 170, 0.78 and closing. Copy.
During the fly around of the Progress vehicle, Progress started drifting away from the expected attitude and was not aligned with the docking target. The crew aboard the International Space Station has taken over manual control and recovered the expected attitude. Docking today will now be performed using the Toru system,
60-meter point.
Принято.
Copy.
which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit from inside the Zvezda service module. Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub of Roscosmos are currently
Copy.
operating the Toru unit.
Полученная рекомендация.
The recommendation, damp the rate, do not hold less than more than 0.02. Copy and work.
Sim station on 2 for T2.
Range 45.
Принял.
Copy.
The Progress vehicle is currently about 45 meters away from the station. It is going to go to about 30 meters and then pause for station keeping before final approach.
Range 40. Rate 0.004. Copy. Approaching a 30-meter point. Rate is 02. Copy.
The Progress vehicle is now at about the 30-meter point away from the International Space Station. It'll pause here briefly for station keeping. During this period of station
Range 30 meters. Station keeping.
Понял, выполняем зависание.
Copy, station keeping confirmed. After that, send the command avakazak, close. You go to do it. Okay. Station keeping confirmed. Send the command, 30 meters, rate 0.
We just heard confirmation that the vehicle is in station keeping. This period of time will allow flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov, just outside of.
The window for mode into never hold will be will start in unintelligible copy inward.
Again, this period of station keeping will allow the flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center just outside of Moscow to analyze the alignment between the forward docking probe on Progress and the docking port on the space station's Poisk module. Once proper alignment is confirmed, we will continue through final approach and docking.
No visual of target. 30 meters, rate 0. We do not have a visual of the target as well. Continue monitoring station keeping.
The Progress vehicle continues to be in a period of station keeping at holding at a distance of 30 meters away from the space station's docking port. To recap, during a fly around a few minutes ago, the Progress vehicle started drifting away from the expected attitude and was not aligned with the docking target. Because of this, the crew on board station took manual control of the vehicle to recover the expected attitude, and docking will now be performed.
Kind of jumped up to 24. What about your visual? Can you assess if it matches? Okay, but again, please adjust the HGC mode. Try to make it as comfortable for you as possible. Okay, the ruler shows 28.
Docking will now be performed using the Toru system, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit.
The ruler shows 26 meters. Copy. Okay, I have visual of the target, beginning alignment. Copy, yes, we see the image. We can see the crosshairs on the target. And we can see the cross stand.
Roscosmos cosmonauts Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub, currently aboard the International Space Station, are working to align the Progress vehicle with the docking port during this period of station keeping. They are working from the Toru.
Course range is 24.
Принял.
Copy.
По линейке 25.
Ruler shows 23.
Отлично.
Copy, excellent.
Экипаж
Now,
подтверждение перевода в ТП.
the mode into TP is confirmed.
3 метра.
You are going to proceed from the range of 3 meters. Copy inward.
Брал 0,7.
0.7 and closing.
Вас понял.
Copy.
We just heard confirmation that the crew is going to continue to proceed through final approach
Отлично.
and pause at 3
Cruise in
meters.
close mode. Excellent.
Дальность по линейке 18.
Range per the ruler is 27 meters.
Принял.
Keep closing. Copy. 0.2 and closing.
Дальность 12, скорость 0,11.
Range 12. Rate
Отлично.
11 and closing. Excellent.
The Progress vehicle is currently at a range of 11 meters from the space station and closing in. Once it gets to 3 meters, it will pause again briefly. Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub of Roscosmos are currently operating today's docking using the Toru system inside the space station, which is basically a joystick that they can use
Range 8.
to manually fly Progress in for docking with a camera view from Progress.
Инструкция ООО отведена.
Да, вас понял. Наблюдаем инструкцию.
Yes, we copy you.
Дальность 5, скорость 0,4.
Range 5. Rate 0.4.
No.
Copy.
The vehicle is now less than 5 meters away from the space station.
Range 3, station keeping.
Вас понял, ожидаем доклад о зависании.
Copy, standing by for report on station keeping confirmed.
The
Station keeping confirmed. Crosshair the line, ready for docking.
Разрешение.
Copy your readiness, you have a go. Copy in work.
The Progress vehicle is now less than 3 meters away and going to press in for docking.
Rate 0.8.
No.
Copy.
We are standing by for contact and capture of the Progress 86 spacecraft to the International Space Station.
Contact.
Ожидаем.
Standing by for contact. No visual of the target.
Саня, сцепка.
Contact confirmed. Capture confirmed.
And we have confirmation of contact and capture.
Retraction process and will be standing by for the closeout ops. Copy.
Docking of the unpiloted Progress 86 cargo spacecraft has been confirmed at 5:18 a.m. Central, 6:18 a.m. Eastern,
1.5 meters.
as the space station was flying 260 statute miles over the Western Pacific.
0.009.
Принял.
Copy all.
Following the initial contact and capture that was confirmed at 5:18 a.m. Central, 6:18 a.m. Eastern, we are now in a period to allow the relative motion between Progress and the International Space Station to dampen out on the docking interface between the two vehicles. Once that occurs, the forward docking probe on Progress will begin to retract. Hooks will close, and then we will have a hard mate between Progress and station.
Okay, we are working for page 26 now, right?
Операции.
Closeout ops are on page 27.
Но это опять же напоминаю.
But again,
Да, все верно. По окончанию процесса стягивания.
yes, only after the retraction complete.
During the fly around of the Progress vehicle, the vehicle started drifting away from the expected attitude and was not aligned with the docking target. Crew then took manual control and recovered the expected attitude, and they performed docking using the Toru system, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit inside the station. The crew confirmed contact and capture of the vehicle at 5:18 a.m. Central, 6:18 a.m. Eastern, as the space station was flying 260 statute miles over the Western Pacific. They are now in a period of a couple of minutes to allow the relative motion between Progress and the International Space Station to dampen out on the docking interface between Progress and station. Once that occurs, the forward docking probe on Progress will begin to retract, hooks will close, and we will have a hard mate. Once we have a hard mate, there will be a period of standard leak checks to ensure that there's an airtight seal between Progress and the station before the crew opens hatches in about 3 hours to begin unloading cargo from the vehicle. The spacecraft is scheduled to remain docked to the orbiting laboratory for approximately 6 months. And we have confirmation that the forward docking probe on Progress has begun to retract. After it retracts, the hooks on Progress will begin to close to form a hard mate. We now have confirmation that the hooks on Progress have closed to form a hard mate between the Progress 86 spacecraft and the International Space Station.
Moscow Station, space to ground 1. Go ahead.
Я ручное управление не отключаю, да?
I keep the manual mode on, correct?
Ничего не выдаем, пока.
No, do not send any commands. Do not deactivate. We are standing by right now.
Following initial contact and capture of the Progress 86 cargo spacecraft to the International Space Station that was confirmed at 5:18 a.m. Central, 6:18 a.m. Eastern, there was a brief period to allow the relative motion between Progress and the space station to dampen out. After that, the forward docking probe on Progress began to retract, and we have confirmation that the hooks have closed and we have a hard mate between Progress and the space station. Following a launch on Friday, December 1st at 3:25 a.m. Central, 4:25 a.m. Eastern, in a 2-day 34-orbit transit, the unpiloted Progress 86 cargo spacecraft safely docked to the International Space Station's Poisk module this morning at 5:18 a.m. Central, 6:18 a.m. Eastern, as the space station was traveling 260 statute miles over the Western Pacific. During the fly-around maneuver, the Progress started drifting away from the expected attitude and was not aligned with the docking target. As a result, Roscosmos cosmonauts Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub, currently aboard the International Space Station, took over using the Toru, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit, to manually dock Progress. Following a series of standard leak checks, the Expedition70 crew currently on board the space station will open the hatches between the space station and Progress to begin unloading the 2.7 tons of food, fuel, and supplies that were recently delivered. The spacecraft will remain docked to the orbiting laboratory for approximately 6 months and then undock for a destructive but safe re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere to dispose of trash loaded by the crew. Again, thank you for joining us this morning as we followed the rendezvous and docking of the Progress 86 cargo spacecraft. This is Mission Control Houston.